G'day, this is Chris, the guitar amp tech from Sydney, Australia. And today is a day I've been waiting for quite a while. My favourite era of Fender amps, brown face. So go grab yourself a coffee, run. Don't walk, run to your coffee machine, make yourself a coffee, don't run back. Shuffle carefully back with the coffee and let's get started on this beauty. A brown face, Brown Panel Fender Pro amp. See you in a sec. What heresy is this? I pride myself on always using Fender colours for my coffee cups. I've never seen an orange Strat. Have you seen an orange Strat? I haven't seen one. Or an orange Telly. Nah. It's just not right. I might accidentally drop this cup. Coffee's still good. Now, Fender history lesson in 20 seconds. Tweed amps, arguably one of the more popular eras, finished in about 1960. Blackface started in 64, give or take, and went up to 68. Then Silverface started with the drip edge around the grill cloth, and then onto the Silverface era. But there was 3 years between Tweed and Blackface. Black Panel. Got to stop saying Blackface. And that was the Brown Panel era. And this is it. I've got a brown face amp. It's a 1963 Fender Concert, and it is the best sounding amp on the planet. Oh yeah, it is. And you'll hear it one day. But this is going to be a real gem, I'm sure. This is almost like the forgotten cousin. Not many people know of the brown face, so you're going to learn a little bit more about the brown face era now. Was it a transition amp between the Tweed and the Blackface, as some people say? Meh. I'd say it's more Blackface than Tweed. And we'll see why here. So, what's wrong with this? Makes odd noises on startup, so that's the first thing we'll see. Then we're going to pull it apart and have a look and see what other things need doing. Now I noticed something a little bit weird in the back when I was putting this up here. Let me turn it around and I'll show you what I mean. So you'll notice that these 2 rear panels have been replaced by this plywood piece. I would say somewhere along in its history they were lost, broken, rotted, who knows. And whoever made these did a really nice job, I reckon. But I think you can get this brown Tolex covering. I would, if it was my amp, I'd just get this recovered in brown Tolex. It'd be a pretty straightforward job to do. Even I could do this one. Now, this is what's got me a bit puzzled, right? Here's our lead. Obviously, it's got the Australian plug on it. And here we have what I would assume is a step-down transformer bolted to the bottom of the cabinet. So what we would expect is the lead go into the wall, come out here, into the step-down transformer, come up here as 110 to feed the amp. And indeed, we have a lead going from here to supply power to the amp. But this black lead doesn't go here. I don't think that's connected to anything. In which case we're going to take it out and give it back to the customer and just relieve this amp of about 1 or 2 kilos, which is 2 kilos is what, about 3.5 tons? No, I can't remember what it is. So we'll figure out that mystery for a start. Almost definitely it's going to have wrong power wiring in here. Nearly always I find that old American wiring, which is just wrong for today's standards, probably illegal. We can't fuse the neutral, so that's the first thing I'm going to check, make sure that the mains wiring is right, that it has a decent ground, which goes from here and is soldered. I will always solder this mains earth connection to the chassis, and that's when we're going to start diagnosing any other fault. Oh, you've spotted another little gem, have you? 15-inch Alnico Jensen speaker. I love 15-inch speakers for guitar amps. This is a Italian one. Nothing wrong with that. I spoke to the customer about it, and he said he has the original speaker, which is probably going to be an original Jensen 15. I said, do you gig? If you gig this amp, let's leave this Italian totally fine speaker in here. But if you're just going to be playing it at home and infrequently, let's put the original speaker back in. And he said he doesn't gig this amp anymore, so hopefully he's back from his vacation in time for me to install this so you can hear it. If not, you'll just have to take my word for it that it sounds mighty fine. Another thing you might notice common to this brown face era is here's our two 6L6 tubes, and here's it. Oh, what? There's no rectifier tube? No, quite correct. They are predominantly, not all, but a lot of brown face amps is when they started using a solid state rectifier. Many people go, oh, it's too clinical, it's too this, it's too that, to which I say, I think you've eaten too much bullshit. It's actually not true. I mean, solid state rectifiers are great. If they weren't great, you'd be saying similar malarkey to Marshalls, Friedman, and many other high gain, high power amps are opting for solid state rectifiers. So I like them. If you like a bit of sag, then I did a series on what is tube amp sag, and you can actually put in a bit of sag into a solid state rectifier. Not hard to do. Now I'm keen to hear what this loud noise is. I've propped up my current limiter, and I've got the switch in limit mode, as you can see, which means the power's coming through that light bulb. So depending on how this standby switch is wired, when I flick the power on, we will see the bulb glow bright, and then it'll fade down. That first step is energizing the power transformer. Then when I put the standby into play mode, depending on which side of the standby switch the main reservoir caps are, we'll either see a second bright glow or it'll stay pretty much constant. Okay, here we go. Bright, faded down fairly quickly. Now I'll put the standby on. Okay, just see it went a little bit brighter, and now it's come back down. That makes me think there's nothing inherently wrong with the amp. So far we're not hearing any of the strange noises. I'm going to repeat this with the amp in full current mode. Now, because I'm in full current mode, I've now bypassed the bulb, and we're going to be looking at the current draw through the little vintage style amp meter there. And we'll see, we might see that flick up a bit. Oh no, still did a flick. I'm not sure if you can see the filaments warming up there. Volume's on. Oh, there we have a noise. Oh yeah, that's good. Now this has to come out so I can get the chassis out. This whole thing, and it's fairly weighty, I'd say that's a good kilo there, 2 pounds, was held in by 2 wood screws, which also held in that earth lug. This is getting weirder and weirder. Okay, I think whoever worked on this before couldn't find the right nuts, which are not hard to find, because this one here held on by a wing nut. If you're lucky, we can drop this with the amp vertical like this, and the chassis sits on these little ledges, but geez, there's not much there, so I generally lay it on its side. I just take that off and that off. They were normal nuts. Still not the correct nuts, but more correct. Come to Papa. Oh dear. I was afraid of that. My God. What kind of a fucking asshole would pull out all of those original Fender caps, which rarely fail, and put in this horrendous collection of orange drops? I want to know what happened to the original capacitors. Give them back, I'll reinstall them. This is just vandalism. You bloody asshole. I've got to say, I really like you and many of the people who subscribe to this channel. Really nice people. But occasionally there's an asshole who goes, "Oh mate, if one capacitor is faulty, why don't you replace them all?" This is now, and I hate to say it to Jim, he's a lovely man, the owner of this. This is no longer a Brown Face Pro. This is now a Brown Face Pro reissue. All these capacitors, these coupling caps that your sound passes through have been changed. I mean, the workmanship in itself is not bad. And we'll have a look and say, oh, hello. That's not original. I don't think that's original. This transformer is obviously a little bit bigger than the original output transformer. And this was contacting the speaker frame. And to stop the noise of the two rattling against each other, he's put a little bit of foam rubber. Are you the guy that worked on this? If you were his mate and you just do this as a part-time hobby, that's fine. But if you call yourself an amp tech and you took money for this work, you should be ashamed of yourself. I want to know what happened to the original transformers. I want to know what happened to those original capacitors. If you still have them, please return them to the owner or me. You know where to find me. I'm on the internet. It's borderline, somewhere between vandalism and theft. I am sure those two transformers did not both blow, and you should have returned them to the owner anyway. This is disgraceful workmanship. It is illegal workmanship. Please don't ever touch another person's amp again. It's the next day. I've calmed down a bit. Sorry about that. I spoke to the owner this morning. I'm quite disappointed. It sounded like I was more disappointed than he was, because I just have a strong sense of responsibility to these amps. However, I am somewhat comforted in knowing that no tech in Australia did this. I have seen some shonky work in Australia, don't get me wrong, but to see both transformers replaced, all these blue mouldeds replaced, it's just, I'm sure that stuff was on eBay within days of doing this. I'm disappointed. I take certainly these vintage Fenders very seriously. And we need to pass this on to the next generation and that generation that follows them, because this sound is never going to come back. Look at that, I just noticed that a grommet's missing there. So I spoke to the owner. He wants me to restore it as best I can without him cost him, you know, a mortgage on his house. So I'll come back. All this is going to get ripped out. I've decided I'm going to just replace that old stringy filled American lead, which is 60 years old. It's going to be cracking and stuff, and replace it with a modern Australian lead, much softer plastic. I'm going to get plenty of earth lead out of it, so I can do a proper soldered to chassis earth connection there. I'll make this thing nice and safe, and just doing that will make it quieter. Obviously, we've got to redo these solder joints, they're all cold. I'm going to inquire about getting some Jupiter Blues to replace the main coupling caps, probably the tone caps. I will pull them out and use Vichets in there. They're yellow, but at least they will look better than this shit. Nothing wrong with orange sprayed caps, mind you, but it's just totally disrespectful for this amp. A few other dodgy things have been done here. I'll replace these with the Brown Fichet. These are the 220Ks, and they go from the bias to the 6L6s. And I might even replace some of these carbon film resistors. I just want to get it looking as good as I can. I will probably replace these great big things with, I don't know, my current one, my favourite ones to use in cathode bypass, the MODs. They just look right for a vintage Fender. Obviously I'm going to replace these because that's copped a good wallop of heat. Here is the B+ coming from our power supply, and this red wire is going to the new output transformer, most likely unnecessarily changed. Oh, what? The highest voltage in the amplifier is passing against an un-O-ringed hole with sharp metal edges. So at some stage this would have worn through, and the B+, which is something like 400 odd volts, 450 volts, is now going to go against the chassis instead of going to the output transformer. But you might say to yourself, oh wait, the fuse will blow. Well, there's no ground connection, remember? The ground connection is now through you, and I'm just thankful that my customer hasn't died. We don't need this ground switch anymore, so I'll release these. If I don't need to use it as a connection point, I will use this for something else, which we'll discuss later when we get to it. So got to make the fusing safe. In other words, I'm going to make the active go to the rear end of the fuse here. From here, it's going to go to the switch. From the switch, it's going to go to the power supply, the transformer rather, power transformer. All right, let's see if I can speed up this playback so you don't get bored shitless watching me. Fuse out because that also conducts the heat away from the soldering iron. And the power switch. This way I can put in fresh solder as well. Right, that's looking a bit better. Right, now I'll get the new power cable in. Now let's remove this ridiculous earth connection that there was. And this can now go where it belongs, in the bin. I really like these washers. Okay, we've got a really good ground connection there. We've got a really good ground connection for those centre taps there. And I think that might be the person who assembled this, Margaret. Well, Margaret, my job is to earn your nod of approval by the end of this, because I'm sure, I mean, sadly you've probably passed on because you did this 60 years ago, but I'm going to see if I can make it worthy of your name in this amp. Because after all, Leo Fender would have still been walking around the factory at the time this amp was made. It was in his glory days. He didn't sell Fender to CBS for another couple of years after this. So this is definitely Leo vintage. One fella that I respect very much on YouTube, Uncle Doug, and I'm sure you know his channel well before mine. I think he's great. And there's one area that we're going to just agree to disagree on. He likes to go to the switch first, whereas I will follow Australian regulations, if it's a regulation, and that is fuse first. And I can see the reason for it, and Doug's got his reason for it, which he can express very well. Consequently, active, which is brown, is going to the back of the fuse first. Why the back of the fuse? When you're unscrewing this to pull out a blown fuse, if it was still, if you had the active going from the mains lead to there, you would still have some active on that fuse, and that'll give you a nasty little kick. Whereas if it's at the back, when you pull it out and the fuse is being held by that cap, as soon as it moves away, you will have no more power on there, so you're not going to get a kick. So it's all about safety, really. And this, I'm just going to reuse some of the original wire that Margaret would have used. So I'm just going to put a little bit of non-original heat shrink on there, because we've got mains voltage exposed. I don't want me or any other person to accidentally brush their hands across it and go flying across the room. And that is going to go there. I'll just give him a bit of a bend around for some mechanical strength so it won't accidentally pull out. And solder. Here's my transformer winding, and it's not going to quite reach, is it? No. So I'm just going to have to add a bit. Don't like doing that. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Don't you reckon, Harley? Yeah. You did. You do what you got to do. And I know what you want to do right now. You want to go outside and play with Dad, don't you? Oh yeah, you know that word. All right, I better go and fulfill my doggy responsibilities, and I'll continue with this. Yes, I'm on my way. So I've directly connected the neutral to one end of the transformer and soldered, mechanically twisted and soldered this extension, which is going to go to the switch. And I'll shrink these around here as well, while I remember. Great. And I'm doing double thickness on the power wiring, just to ensure everybody is safe. And I'll put another layer over the active wiring. Voila. Now I know I could have used these points here as joining points, but I've got another use in mind for that ground switch. Now I'll tack that under there so the join won't be as obvious to the casual glance. There we go. Voila. And you can tuck under there. And you can tuck under there. And you're under there. And nowhere near the DC, so we can happily bundle those together. Twist him around to be less obvious. Okay, you get away from there, solder. Now, just have a quick eyeball. Active comes in here, goes to the fuse. There's no fuse in there at the moment. Fuse goes to the switch. Switch goes to one of those pair there. The neutral goes to the other pair. So that's our transformer primary complete. This is our filament. And this is going to be very important for the next check, and I'll explain that in a second. And this other twisted pair here is our HT. This is the highest voltage here. You can see it going through the rectifier diodes there, and they're all pointing that way. This oddball single one is pointing that way. So that's a clue that that is the bias circuit. There's been some tinkering here. We'll check this. I would like to replace this semi-permanent method of biasing with a bias pot, so I and future tech can bias this amp. I'm not sure if I said this already, but I have ordered as many of these as I can in the Jupiter Blue. It's going to make a big change. A couple I can't get the values in, so I'll probably use the yellow Vichy ones. And I'll replace those cathode bypass with the MODs. Even though these are quite good, I still want to replace them if I've got more appropriate looking ones. I've ordered a couple of caps that I need that I've got not enough stock on. I've decided that I'm going to increase the two 20 microfarad caps that come straight after the rectifier. I'm going to use two 30 microfarad ones, so increasing it by 50%. Also doing that with the node that is supplying our screen grid resistors. I'm going to increase that from 20 to 30 microfarads, so they're on order. And from there on in, I'm going to stick with the 20 microfarads. And I'm doing this just to provide a bit more stability for the screen grids. And we can easily take way more filtering than that, but I don't want to go too far away from spec, but far enough away that I want to reduce any hum. I'm going to have to unsolder all of these connections. Hang on, let's just have a quick look. How has he mounted this? This is actually a Mesa Boogie output transformer. As much as I dislike Mesa Boogie amplifiers, I must admit they have good iron. So I'm okay with this transformer being substituted. Obviously I'd like the original transformer, but that's not going to happen. I could order a new Hammond transformer. In Australia, sadly, Mercury Magnetics are not affordable to bring over because of their weight. But Hammond are quite good. I will check the price of a Hammond transformer, because the other thing with this is the holes don't line up. As you can see, the two screws on this side, which are out of your shot, have got two sheet metal screws holding that transformer in place. Here we've got no screw there And this screw is outside the hole. It's a sheet metal screw, and is just overlapped that screw with a washer to hold down that flange of the transformer. Somewhere in there is a little bit of felt that Dick Boy installed glued to here, because this part was touching the speaker frame. All right, now I'm going to check out the power transformer and make sure that it's transforming to the right sort of levels we need. So we're going to be monitoring two parts. We're going to be monitoring the B+, and we should be seeing something in the order of 4 to 450, I'd expect, somewhere around there. And the more important one is I'm going to be checking our 6.3 filament. I can just test that there. The reason I want to test that is because if this transformer was put in Switzerland, where it's 220 compared to our 240, we might find that all our voltages are too high. So, but we don't know until we start testing. So let's turn both of these on. I've put in a 1.5 amp fast blow fuse. So that's just a little bit of insurance to make sure that if anything's wrong, bang, I want that to go quick smart. And because I'm winding it up on the Variac, I don't expect to see a surge which may pop that fuse. So let's just monitor this. Okay, my Variac is at around about 40 volts, and we've already got 230 volts here. This is a bit of a concern. All right, I'm at 80 volts now, and we've got 350. Yeah, I think this is going to be a problem. I'm 104 volts, less than halfway, and we've already got 450 volts on the B+. Yep, that's over 6 volts already, and we've only got 104 volts on the Variac. This is obviously a US transformer. Next steps. So tomorrow morning I'm going to take the power transformer to my excellent transformer rewinding man, and I'll get him to convert that to a 240 volt. I'm thinking this may, and the reason I'm doing that is because I'm starting to have second thoughts about this. I'm thinking maybe it is the original transformer. If anyone knows this code, I don't know of any EIA code that is under 100. Like Schumacher is 606, which is the traditional transformer maker for Fender, which fits in, because if it is, then that is telling us 1962, which is right, 33rd week of 1962. But I'm going to rewind this instead of getting a new one. But I have a feeling that it may be original. So that'll stay. The power transformer will get rewound. That'll take a week or so to get done, maybe 2, depending on how busy he is. I've got as many blue Sozo caps coming, so this will look right, and I'll start replacing some of the more obvious wrong installations here. Replace these. Bit of work ahead. Well, we have a few days of waiting, so I think I'll just call this part 1. We'll start off part 2 once those parts have arrived, once the transformer's been rewound and collected. Then we'll do part 2, and hopefully that'll be able to finish this off and get it sounding as it should be. We're going to now put back as much as we can with care and skill. I reckon we'll make this sound good again. But I'll see you in part 2 and we'll find out for sure. See you soon.